people come from all walks of life. They all have lives they lead. Any and all are welcome here to come and chat with me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I happen to have a guest host, not a co-host, a guest host. So take it away, guest host.
Hi, my name's Mary, and I have known Nancy for forever, which is about 5-6 years. Nancy and I did improv together, we traveled together, and I think it's time that her audience gets to know a little bit about Nancy. So tonight, I'm going to ask the questions, and she's going to be on the hot seat. You ready, Nancy?
I'm ready.
So my first thing that everyone should know is, where were you born?
Campbellton, New Brunswick.
Can we hear a little bit of the accent?
No, I don't think so.
So, when Nancy gets excited, I do think there's a little New Brunswick French twang in there. Nancy, tell us about your family. It was fairly large.
Well, we were 12 children. I had we were 7 girls and 5 boys. We were very, very poor. We lived in a house in the middle of a field. No insulation. It was a 2-story house. It's kind of like a square box, I guess. We had outdoor plumbing. But we had electricity. By the time I was born, there was electricity and there was water brought into the house.
But you told me stories about waking up and having the snow come in the windows and underneath the door. Yeah,
the wind would blow really hard, like it's northern New Brunswick and the winters can be pretty severe. And the snow would form little piles. It would come kind of under the window ledge, and there was no heating upstairs. Like the heat turned on like when my mother got up in the morning. So I can remember waking up and have my eyes all, I couldn't open them because during the night, it'd be so cold and that pus or whatever would build up. So we'd have to wait for my mother to heat up the water so we could have face cloths to take the cold that off of our eyes. I hate the cold.
Yeah, I bet you hate the cold. So did all of you live in the same house at the same time?
No. My oldest sister, we're half siblings. I have 3 half siblings. The oldest sister lived with our aunt and uncle and our grandmother, and I think mainly in Ottawa, as far as I remember. Yeah, so she and my brother, that's my sister Teresa, and my brother Bernard, we call him Bunny. My father was married and had them, and then his first wife died. And my mother had a daughter, and so when they met, then they had the rest of us together.
Wow, that's quite the mixed family.
Yeah.
Are you still in touch with them?
Yeah, those are that are still alive. Definitely, my oldest brother is alive and well and lives in New Brunswick. That's Bunny. Yeah, his friend. By the way, his friends call him Banjo. Or sometimes. Sorry.
Go ahead.
He has 6 daughters, and sometimes the girls call him Little Joe because his name is Joseph Bernard or Joseph Lawrence or whatever it is.
So I'm glad you brought up the banjo thing, because I know you as guitar, and yet I've seen different spellings, different pronunciations of your name within your own family. So what other names does work for the last name? Well,
this is my memory of it, and it might be faulty, because when I was a kid, we spelled it guitar with no D on the end of it. And then at some point, we were told we were spelling our name wrong. I don't know who told us that. There's a mixed story about that, that it actually had the D on the end of it. So we all added the D. But some of my brothers and sisters have the D and some of us don't. And there's no logic, no reason.
Do you wish you had the D, Nancy?
No.
No, you like it without?
I like it, definitely like it without. Yeah.
So I hear you say Marie Nancy guitar?
Yes.
And that's new.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that, because you have a sister Nancy, or a sister Marie.
All the girls, now this is according to the Catholic religion, the boys were all Joseph. whatever. The first name was always Joseph, Joseph Roger, Joseph Ralph, whatever. So the girls had to have a name of a saint. Like some of them already had, like my sister Kitty's name is Catherine. So Saint Catherine, that was fine. So the girls, if they didn't have that, they were either Mary or Marie.
Wow, now is that unique to New Brunswick? Because I'm also Catholic from Ontario, and I've never heard of that.
I think it's New Brunswick and Quebec.
Okay, so then you lived in Quebec as well? Where in Quebec?
First of all, we lived in Ville-Saint-Laurent. I was 8 years old when the family moved to Montreal. And I lived in Ville-Saint-Laurent. I lived in Roxborough, Pierrefonds. Where else did I live? I can't remember. Oh, Lachine. And Dorval. And Dorval.
Yeah. You moved around quite a bit. Why did you move around so much?
That's once I was on my own. I used to think I had claustrophobia, but I was just restless, you know.
Okay.
So I'd have an apartment, and everything would start closing in on me. So I'd move, and I had a 2-bedroom apartment all by myself. You know, I'm like 19 or 20. You know, it's like, I don't know why. I just felt that everything was just closing in on me.
Interesting. So what kind of work did you do when you first started into the workforce? And how old were you?
I was 16. My first job was patching cigars at a cigar factory. I wasn't very good at it.
In Quebec?
Yeah. The company
I didn't know
was
we had cigar factory in Quebec.
Oh yeah, Simon Cigars. Yeah.
Okay.
And we used to get free cigars to take home, so that was kind of cool. I worked a lot of factory jobs until I went back to school, because in my family, what you did is you did grade 8, then you get out, you got a job. Okay, that's just the way it was. And then when I went, and all of us went back at some point and got our high school. So once I got high school, I started working in offices. But I did work in a toy store for 5 years, so that was fun.
I can so see you working in a toy store. What was your favorite job? Of all the jobs that you had, what has been your favorite job?
Oh my goodness. Maybe at I'm just forgotten the name of the company. It was a wholesaler. They sold fresh and frozen foods, like Cara operations, to the airlines and stuff. It might have been Gatehouse. I think it was called Gatehouse. And the reason why I liked it is because, like, they would sell Sara Lee cakes, okay? But everything was by the case. So if I wanted a cake, I would go around the office and see who else wanted to share, I bought live lobsters through them. I had 1.25 live lobsters in my bathtub.
For how long were they in your bathtub?
Oh, just overnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with 25 lobsters?
Well, my mother came over with some of the family, and she cooked them, and we ate them. We grew up, when I was a kid, lobster was kind of a poor people's food. So, but we didn't have the tail or the claws. Mostly it was just the body, because there was a plant that canned the lobster. So they would sell the bodies in a barrel for like $1 a body or something like that. So my mother would buy a barrel, and we just pig in.
Wow. So it was like a boil up made with corn and.
No. It would just be lobster.
Okay.
Yeah. Like this lobster by itself was a meal, and we never ate them hot. They were always cold. And the first time I tried lobster hot, it just really bothered my stomach. It just was too weird.
Do you still like lobster?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But now the claws and the tail, right?
Pardon?
Now the claws and the tail.
Oh yes, definitely. But you never throw out anything. I mean, just the shell. That's
and apparently you use the shell, and you should boil it up to make like a broth. But apparently there's a lot of goodness in a lobster shell. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? We didn't do things like that, though. I'm
sure you didn't. So, just getting back quickly to your family. Were you the middle? Were you the baby? How did you fit into all these kids?
I am the oldest of the 3 youngest.
Okay.
The 10th child. My father's 9th and my mother's 8th. There's something like that. The third youngest, anyway. I'm the 3rd youngest.
And the other thing that you learned as a child that everyone got you to do had to do with rabbits.
It was my job to skin and clean rabbits. During the winter, my father would go out and he'd lay snares and to snare rabbits, because that would be a protein supplement for our diet, right? And at some point, apparently, I remember cleaning them, but apparently I started that when I was 7 years old, and I was quite good at it, and I took a lot of pride in it. It just like, for me, it was like status sort of idea. Look at me, And I remember somebody saying to me, like, well, you'd actually somebody give you a knife. Nobody thought anything of it. It was nothing weird or wrong about it, just the way it was. Yeah.
Different times.
Yeah.
So now you've moved from New Brunswick to Quebec. You've got your high school education. What did you do next?
Well, in 1975, my ex and I moved to Ontario. First of all, we moved to Newmarket, Ontario, where my son was born, and I worked at Canadian Tire for a little while. Then we moved.
I have to interrupt you for 1 second. I don't know if you knew this, but I was also born in Newmarket.
That is so bizarre, right? Like, oh my gosh. It's weird, yeah.
That's weird. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And then we moved to Burlington, and my daughter Jamie was born there. And in 1995, I left my ex and I moved out here.
Thank heavens for that. So tell us a little bit about your kids, where they are, what they do, how old they are, and what makes them really special.
Oh my gosh.
I know I think they're both special.
Yeah, and you've met both of them. Well, as you know, my son Andrew, he lives in Shanghai, China. He's been there, it must be going on 17 years now. He went there originally as a teacher to teach English as a second language, and eventually met and married his wife, Li. He is now an owner of, I don't know how many schools now. I think at least 8 or 9. I have no idea. I've lost count. And apparently he has other businesses, but I'm not quite sure what they are. And his wife, Li, works for the Chinese government, and she sells futures. So, okay. Yeah. And Andrew is, I think he's 43 or 44.
Oh my gosh, he and I were born at the Newmarket Hospital in the same year. That's crazy.
Yeah, right, Mary. Now, my daughter Jamie is 39, and she recently moved from Chillliwack to New Westminster, and she works in security as a mobile security guard, is what she does. So, and she's doing really, really well.
And she is an animal lover extraordinaire. She
has a little cat named Andy, a little girl named Andy. I haven't met Andy. I haven't met her boyfriend. I mean, haven't seen this apartment. I never even saw her last apartment.
Yeah, I think we'll just put a yet around that. As soon as this cold stuff's over, I'm sure you'll get in and see the apartment, meet the boyfriend, the whole work.
Yeah.
How did you get into performing, and what types of performances have you done throughout your life?
I was in my 50s, and my niece Kathy was part of. She was with Toastmasters, and they had his. Pardon?
You're in Chillliwack?
You're in Chillliwack, yes. And yeah, and they had a contest, humorous speech contest, and I went and watched, and oh my gosh, she was so fantastic. She was like so good, but she didn't win. And and there was a whole big controversy, but I realize now why it wasn't really a speech. It was more like doing stand-up comedy. But anyway, I said to her, you should be doing stand-up. And other people had said to her that too. She's kind of shy. So I said, okay, if I find us a venue, would you do it with me? And she said, yes. So we became the Wise Ass Comedy Runts, spelled with a Z. And we performed 7 shows, sold out shows in Ryder Lake. And then we just, around town and stuff. And then from there, I got into acting on with the vagina monologues.
Okay.
Did a number of shows that I really enjoyed that one. And through that person, Gwen Hunt, who hosted or put on the Vagina Monologues, I got into some other plays that she was producing. And then one day, out of the blue, like that had all died down, I get an email from some guy who said that he remembered me from Toastmasters, and he'd be interested, wanted to know if I'd be interested in doing some improv. And I was thinking he's hitting on me, right? Because I didn't remember him. Unfortunately, he wasn't hitting on me. That was Dave Hobson, and that's where I met you. That's when I met you, doing improv.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really...
And that had to be, what, 7 years ago now?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Yeah.
I know, I can't believe it. Just getting back to the Vagina Monologue for a second, what role did you play?
Well, the first one was one of the best because I read a letter from the author. I can't remember the first name, the last name was Ensger. And I read her letter, and I was the last one on. So it's like, oh my gosh, they give me this letter, you know. But after that, mostly they gave me reclaiming the C word.
Okay.
The reason why they gave that to me is because here I am, the shortest one, and probably most of the time the oldest one too, right? And I come out and I'm starting using this word, you know. So it had the kind of a shock value. So that was really fun. It was fun to do. I mean, I don't use that word normally, but on stage, but on stage, because of what it was saying was just trying to reclaim it, trying to take the sting out of it. That, you know, when a male uses it, or to me, it's worse than when a woman uses it towards another woman. That's my feeling about it, you know. But on stage, I can say anything and do anything. Like I had a part in a play where I kept dropping the F-bomb. It was just great.
And I never ever hear you swear.
You haven't? Are you sure?
Maybe very seldom, and it has to be a real serious situation. But I mean, you're not one to just let them fly. So
No.
It would be different to see you up on the stage using the F and the C word. That's for sure. So then you went and did improv. I loved doing improv.
Me too.
I loved working with you. We had Michael Berger, we had Scott McVetti, and of course David Hobson was sort of the organizer of it. Tell me why you loved improv.
I think one of the things, like, well, first of all, it was easier for me. It was easier than doing stand-up, because stand-up, you have to have lines. You have to know, you know, what jokes you're going to tell, right? But also you're up there by yourself. Whereas with improv, you don't have to memorize anything. You just need to know the rules of whatever game you're playing, and you get to work off of other people. And I have to say, you and I would connect really well. You know, it's just almost like we just had that instant connection that we just knew how to play off of each other. And to me, that was wonderful.
There was one skit that we did that always made people laugh, was Good Cop, Bad Cop.
Oh, yeah, with our friend, with our accent, where we speak like this one, huh? Yeah, we were very good with that one, I think.
That's what I was looking for earlier, is that accent. You've also written a kid's book.
Yes, Jamie, Lisa, and Mr. Reggie. Yeah, it's about a little girl. She names all these bugs. You know, she does them alphabetically, and she gets to a ladybug, and I can't remember what she was. I think she was going to call it Matilda or something like that. But the ladybug protested because it was actually a male bug. So she didn't know how to work that one out. Like, you know, there's a whole, like, why the ladybugs called ladybugs when some of them are male. But anyway, so she came up with the solution was Mr., you know?
Okay.
Yeah. So that worked out really well. And my friend Joy did the illustrations, which I think are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. You just recently gave me a couple to give to my nieces, and the book is just adorable. So if people want to buy a great children's book, they should get in touch with you for sure.
Absolutely.
What other things have you done on stage?
That's
I know MC.
Oh my gosh, I got to MC. One of the best things I did I got to MC for the Harley Davidson, their hog rally, they were having one, and they could be anywhere in the world, but this one year was in Chillliwack. So a friend of mine asked me if I'd be interested in emceeing that event. And it was so great because some biker dude comes and picks me up. First of all, Harley Davidson here in Chillliwack, they lent me all the gear, you know, the chaps and the leather jacket and stuff. So this guy picks me up and takes me to the event, and it's an outdoor stage. And I'm sitting in the seat, and two other bikers just lift me up right off the motorcycle, set me up on the stage. It was so much fun. But I was allowed to bring a guest, thank goodness, so I brought Marie, my sister Marie, with me, because like I'm fine on stage. I'm really fine. But it's that when there's that break time, now I don't know what to do with myself during that time. So that's why I had my sister Marie come with me, so I could have somebody to sit with, you know.
Right. Yeah. And I don't imagine that Marie's shy.
Marie can't perform. Like Marie could never go up on the stage or anything like that.
Right.
She's very social. Yeah. But in a different way.
Yeah. So you brought it up. Tell us about social anxiety, how it affects you, what it is, and how you deal with it.
Well, I'm just going to tell you that we're going to have an episode about that with two other people who have social anxiety. But for me, it's like people don't understand, because I can perform, because I can be on stage or on camera, how it affects me. But here's an example. Like when I was at Toastmasters for a number of years, I hated the break, because during the break time, people are now networking and socializing, and I would just feel so uncomfortable and so awkward. I tried to get them to not have breaks, you know. But if you give me something to do, if I have a job, you know, if I'm, say, serving people or whatever it is, then I'm comfortable, because I'm busy concentrating on that. I don't have to sit around or stand around at that point and just sort of converse with people. That is really difficult. Yeah. Sure.
You have a reason to talk to people. You don't kind of have to make it up. It's incredible to me that you do have social anxiety, because I know you so well, and you're so outgoing and friendly. And you have very kindly told me on a number of occasions when I've invited you to something, you know, at my house, or something going on, that you can't. It's not that you don't want to, but you literally can't come, because that is just way out of your comfort zone. So I think that the fact that you share that and let people know is absolutely huge. How long have you suffered from social? Should I say suffered? How long has social anxiety impacted your life?
Well, probably always. Only I didn't know that's what it was. I'd be just like, we were considered shy. That's what they said at that point, right? You're just too shy to do those things, you know. So as far back as then, you know, and probably earlier than that, that I certainly had issues. My first day of school was horrible, you know. Because my sister took me, and because I was so much shorter than everybody else, big surprise there, the teacher there was a stool at the back of the classroom, like a high stool, and she sat me there while she had everybody else put them in. It was two kids shared a desk, okay?
Okay.
And then she started the class, and she forgot all about me. And I'm there, and I'm trying not to cry. Trying so hard not to cry. Finally, she noticed me, and she gave me a seat next to somebody else, some other kid.
Heartbreaking.
Oh, it was so tough. But once again,
it was.
Yeah, and one other thing I was just thinking about, like when I would go to work, every time I start a new job, it was never about the work. For me, it was either I'm going to learn the job or I'm not going to learn the job. It was always about fitting in. How am I going to fit in? It would be so, like I'd worry about it before I start the job. Like, you know, if I had 2 weeks before, you know, I'd be worrying about it every single day.
Interesting. Well, I'm really glad that you're going to do a special segment on it to make people more aware of it, because I think you're right. People don't understand. They think that you're shy or you've chosen to do this. And I think, you know, letting people know what it's really all about is going to be very helpful. So yeah, we'll give that session a plug right now. How did you get into doing your small talk show?
Well, a number of years ago, chillTV had a community access channel that was mandated by the CRTC. And so I volunteered there. I don't remember, just to have something to do, I guess, because I was no longer working. I had the arthritis, so it was hard to go to work and stuff. So anyway, I started volunteering, always with the intention of having a talk show.
Okay.
So I mentioned it to the young man who was my contact there at Shaw. And it took another year before we got it going, but it was called Getting to Know You at that time. That was the name of the show. And it was great. We were just learning and really getting into it when the CRTC changed the rules. So Shaw shut down the community access program from Chillliwack to Vancouver. And it's like, oh, now what? And I can't remember, it might have been Michael Berger set me up, but told me to contact Bears Cardin, who was starting up an online TV station, chillTV. So I did, and the rest is history.
How many people have you interviewed to date?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I just want to say that, I had to find my own crew. So I've had different people with me through the years, but Corley Holmes is our director and our editor, and Laurie James is a production assistant. We've had Barry Evans doing camera, and Ali was editor at first, and different people have come and gone a little bit, a few people, but they're just the three of us now. Although with Zoom it's totally different because I'm just basically on my own.
Yeah. And do you prefer the live and in person, or do you find that the Zoom interviews work just as well?
I find they work just as well. It depends on the person. Some people, you can interview them this way and still pick up, I don't know how to explain it, but you can still feel that connection with them, right?
Sure.
Where others, you're better off meeting them in person. Yeah.
Nancy, let's talk about the love of your life, Bill.
Bill was such a good guy. I met him here in Chillliwack. He was a gentle person, a gentle man. He loved to cook, and he was a great cook. He for him, one of the joys was to feed people through food, and love people through food, rather. Although he said at one point he would never do it for a living, although he did end up working at Stream, like in a cafeteria at one point. He was such a nice, gentle man, When I met him, he had two children, Jennifer and Craig, and they're both doing really well. Like Jennifer lives in Penticton, and she has a daughter, Jessica, and Craig lives in Austria, is married, and he has a son, and they're doing really well. And then, of course, there was the dog. I got a step dog and two step cats when I married Bill. We were married for 15 years. And unfortunately, he got cancer and he passed away. But it was good to be with him because it was a good, healthy relationship. Not that we didn't fight, but it was a healthy relationship. And I hadn't had that previously. So it was really nice. Really nice. Yeah.
So tell us the story of how you met and how you felt when you first saw him.
Okay, I talked a friend into going to what was called the Singles Club here in Chillliwack. I don't know if it's around anymore, but it was a way for people to get together. It wasn't about dating. It was about socializing with somebody. They would meet for coffee, or they would have dances. So I talked with somebody to go with me. And when I first saw Bill, it was like, I think when people say their first love as teenagers, maybe. I never had that experience before. It was that instant connection. It was like, oh, I'm going to jump his bones. I probably shouldn't say that. It was just that physical connection that I felt to him. It was just so awesome, And I was worried. I didn't want him to talk in case I didn't like what he had to say. 'Cause I had that physical connection, right? But it was
so he never spoke during the whole 15 years they were together, right?
Yeah, right. But it was really good. And he lived up in Ryder Lake. He had what is called a panaboat style log cabin home. And so when we got married, we lived there. And then eventually when I moved out here, I bought a duplex, which I rented out. I lived on one side for a while, and then I rented it out. And when Bill and I got married, I moved in with him in his house in Ryder Lake, which belonged to him and his first wife. And then they sold it and split that money. So we moved into my duplex. And then we moved after that. We moved into our little house on Margaret. He would have liked this. I think he would have liked this condo too.
Yeah.
It's bigger than
So
mine.
so you lived in a panabode on Ryder Lake?
Yeah, up in Ryder Lake. Yeah. It was really nice.
We had another thing that you probably didn't know that we had in common is I was born and raised in a panabode in Ontario.
Really? Oh my gosh.
I know. Look at how much we've got in common.
I know. Anyway, Mary, I think we're out of time.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that we have covered 72 years fairly well. There's still so much people don't know about you, but I think it's really great that they have just a little bit more insight into knowing Nancy at Small Talk. It has been a pleasure. It was fun to learn things that I didn't even know. And yeah, keep doing the small talk stuff. Thanks,
Mary. I intend to do that. So who's going to sign off? You or me?
You are.
Okay.
Your show.
Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed Mary's interviewing me. And I hope you'll watch the show again. And stay safe, stay healthy. Wear a mask, please, so that we can start going out again. Until next time, peace out.
A sense of community, Chillliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chillliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chillliwack's the place to be, you'll see.